we rise giving honors for having, a special government on the manifest that we can most definitely go into the divine ties as opposed to being a part and parcel of somebody else's jump over the broom ceremony and, and so forth and so on. But we know that the grand drawing has to do with the tie between the creator before any bond can be brought forth. And that's not just even dealing with the marriage between, God woman and God man, but a relationship again when it comes to dealing with uh, any relationship that we come into play, be it just business, day to day life, friendship, companionship, whatever ties that have to do with dealing with other people, where we have to exercise our social duties. You know, we can't ask for more than the great God Allah has already given us, through our holy prophet, because he said he brought us everything that it takes to save a nation. And all we have to do is take it and save ourselves. And that actually includes the laws, by which we are able to govern ourselves according to, again, those relationships. In fact, the grand measure has to do with the holy covenant of the Asiatic nation. That's the real measure that actually equals 7, 2, and 5, chapter 25, right? And so, in order for that covenant to become a fact, that means that we have to exercise it according to everything that the 7 acts represent. The 7 acts, if we can just deal with them alone, because most of the time when we get into codes of conduct, law, and ethics, most people say, well, that's too much for me to abide by. Why so many rules? Why so many laws? Why so many restrictive measures? But in all actuality, what we find out is upon investigation is all we have to do is really demonstrate love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And we will be in accord with everything it is that we need to be in accord with if we simply abide by that. So, all of these things and a multitude of other things that we strive for, all we have to do is seek that highest principle in the pinnacle, which is 72 degrees of love, and make that love flow 360, and everything else will come into being, so to speak. It's not an overnight process, but it's most definitely a drawing in where we can all gain progress if we put forth our will to do so. That's all it takes. A little bit of know-how and so forth and so on. I want to go into, in this particular measure here, dealing with chapter 45. We know 4 and 5 is 9, and that's dealing with reentry. But on another note, I want to actually go into the aspects of the nature of the relationship between the God man and God woman. Because according to the West now, they'll have you thinking that this is a demonstration where it's supposed to be some type of masculine over feminine demonstration, some type of chauvinistic demonstration. Even from the standpoint of our goddesses and our queen, they'll have them thinking that it's by the feminist measure. And who is supposed to get the honors, how they supposed to get the honors, and why they supposed to get the honors. What we find out is that in Ancient Kmt, there was a such thing as what we call co-regency, in the relationship of the marriage of Ancient Kmt. And in co-regency, under the basic definition, it would tell you that it's a situation where a monarchical position such as prince, a princess, a king, a queen, an empress, normally held by, only one person, is actually held by 2 or more. And in Ancient Kemet, oftentimes, it was not just a man, 2 men ruling in this aspect. It was actually a king and a queen ruling together. And this is what we need to get back to. We need to get back to this same and special drawing where the king and the queen is ruling together. The sun and the moon being an expression of the ancient king and queen, or god and goddess of ancient Kemet, function together. That's the nature of the universe. And they shed light on their seas, which are representation of the stars. So why not demonstrate this in special measure where the king and the queen is ruling together? That's where we have a whole upheaval, of this so-called male dominant or female dominant society that we came into over here in the West. Go look it up. In ancient Kemet, you even had warrior goddesses or warrior queens, so to speak. Don't necessarily mean she was out there on the battlefield, even though we know that's the truth either. We ain't gonna cover that up. But just being a strong God woman, that is able to rule. Even our prophet actually pointed out a queen, Queen Candace, in her presence over here in the United States. So we can see this. They even had a movie called Woman King, so to speak, that came out. That's a whole nother measure, but we just saying in normal cases, it has to do with the unity and the oneness between the two. That's why you often hear people say all Sar and all Set. You have to mention them together. And you have to say Heru. You see, or we have to say Ish and Isha. We don't just focus on the powers of Ish and push the powers of Isha to the side. So in other words, there's already a divine union. And co-regency, the great God Allah, has already made the tie. So by that very virtue, so to speak, two heads are better than one. Two heads are better than one. You see? That's co-regency. Look that up. We haven't heard a lot about that because this is a Western mindset that we've been dealing with over here. But really study this, family. They even had a drawing of co-regency mentioned even in the Bible. In the book of co-regency was dealing with David ruling with his son, so to speak. So a son could rule with the father. And, this is a powerful demonstration. You see? And this will basically always have rulership or leadership or executive rulers on the manifest. One would never be lacking, so to speak. In ancient Kemet, the concept of marriage wasn't bound up in terms of an official ceremony. And we know even in our teaching, we teach that the ceremony is not what consummates the union. It actually had to do with, in Kemet, the actual marriage tie started when a man and a woman had set up a home together. Now, over here in the West, they would say, oh, that's playing house, or that's doing this, and that ain't saying that you don't go through the marriage tie. We ain't giving nobody no ammunition like that. We are just telling you how it was demonstrated in Kemet. Automatically, when you were together, it was assumed that y'all was, together to be together. Even on a higher state of vibration, a lot of people don't know. I did the research, I did the study. I got a whole page. I got to dig it up one day. I wrote years ago, doing research on this particular measure. And I found that if you lay down, brothers and sisters, with each other, that is actually a marriage tie. You see, whether you know it or not. And so what happens is, if you go to laying down all over the place, jumping up and down, so to speak, as the chairman would say, now next thing you know, you done got into many marriage ties, and it's spiritual energy that come with that demonstration. You see? So if you did this and you had the lower desires in mind, and that's all it was about, then you can rest and assure that those deities or the lower self gonna reign supreme over you. You see? And we understand, especially when it comes to our people, most of our people start real early. When they have no knowledge of what marriage laws or marriage ties are. Y'all know it, 13, 14 years old. You know, sometime 12. And unfortunately, this is the truth. You know, some of our mothers were around those ages when they had us, 16 and, 17. And the thing is about it is that when we come up into this era in time, we didn't have no knowledge about a marriage tie, what the rules was, and how we were to govern ourselves according. We didn't know nothing about that. We was just taught to breed, and most cases this right here came from what we learned on the plantation. And so all I can say is it has led to a very, very sad situation, and where we don't even honor the family tie. Right now in this new generation, I'm gonna be straightforward with the young generation, feel like marriage is out the door. They're like, who get married? What? I ain't finna wife nobody. I don't need no hubby. This is how they talking now. That's the way they demonstrate. So they are in dire need, and some of them are so far gone and so far in opposition to, knowing who they are. All I can say is good luck. It was a time when you can have people together in a marriage tie and they moved through the community if they were, upstanding. Like some people like to use the term a power couple, and they would be inspiration to others. And you don't even know how you may inspire other people. Just them seeing that unity, or even seeing the length or the longevity in the unity, that actually gives people something to strive for. But when you see our people all over the place, they can't commit to each other. It's always even a break, in the union after the commitment, because this has been accepted as the norm too. Quit him or quit her and take everything that he or her got. Prenuptial agreements and all this type of stuff. So it lets you know if you got to go into a relationship, with the thought of what if it be some conflict and, I need to protect myself. I mean, that's most definitely a contract. That ain't no different than like somebody going into any other type of business contract. So even marriage along those lines of big business, when it comes to the West. I mean, they exploit everything. Y'all know it. These Romans is submissive when it comes to finding a way to make money off the misery, of people. And oftentimes when you have to deal with certain situations that don't go right, you got to go to the European. Anything they say, you got to go to them, and they govern your household. They govern your youngins. They govern you, and so forth and so on. This is all because we give power over to somebody else to govern our affair, when most of the time they probably couldn't even govern their own. See, we have to respect, brothers, our God woman, as Mother Ma'at was respected in Ancient Kmt. You see? Ma'at represents truth and right. So it's actually the duty of every God man to make sure that he cultivates the heart and mind of the goddess that he embraces with truth and right. You see? Ma'at, in our Moorish Holy Quran is known as justice, mercy, love, and right. Ma'at is known as harmony, truth, balance, right, order, justice. I mean, we can go on and on and on. Ma'at was actually a mother of the nation, and this is how each God woman should strive to unfold to become that of Ma'at, to become like that of All-Set, to become like that of Het-Heru. We can go on and on and on. And it should be the brothers, in their desire to become like that, of all of the greatest God men of ancient Kemet, Al-Sa, Tehudi, Heru. We can unfold through all these special qualities if we put in the work. You see? But yeah, when we go into the actual marriage process in ancient Kemet, the concept was not bound up in terms of an official ceremony, but rather occurred when a man and a woman set up a home together. And it was not clear, is not clear, what the precise social and legal implications of this were. But there are documents, that have been found more in the recent time, mostly coming from the Ptolemaic periods. And we already know we got to take that with a grain of salt. From 747 up to 30 BC, it had been found that they had been set out, in relation to dealing with certain property rights, in ancient Kemet, as well as in Islam. Islam demonstrates the same way. There are a lot of things in relation to dealing with the man and the woman as it relates to the marriage tie, that has to do with that which will keep the people in a state of union. Man and wife, men were definitely dealing with polygamy. We can also see that there were also, most of them, though, were monogamous, so to speak, when it comes to dealing with, and you already know we talk about intellectual polygamy as opposed to intellectual monogamy, whereas one is able to have such respect. And this is, I always say this here, when one goes on one journey to self-mastery, they actually are to, at least brothers should be mastering themselves. And as you move on your journey, you learn to respect women. This is like almost a task that one has to go through, wherever they may be. And once you're able to learn to respect women in general, by the time you begin to come into a union, then you should already be on point when it comes to dealing with your special companion or your mate. So if you go back, they had records of separations, or what a lot of people would like to call divorce. But in this era and time, what we have, we don't demonstrate a divorce or a tie. And even if there is a severing of ties, the soul ties still remain, so to speak, especially if you got some young seeds involved. A God man, in most cases, what qualified, and you had to also go by law too. You couldn't just say, I'm gonna separate from this one. You had to let the community know why you was doing this separate. On the grounds of adultery, infertility, some cases would cause conflict. And it may not be with the man, it may be with the woman, or it may be with the man or the woman. But somebody may be feeling some type of way about that, and it causes stress and strain, and eventually that causes people to push each other apart if ones ain't willing to deal with ones in sickness as well as in health. So that's all accepted. Now, if you said that this was what you was going to accept from the beginning, and then all of a sudden you want to flip the script and go in opposition to what it was that you said you was going to honor, it's a lot of karma come with that demonstration there, because, you should never put yourself in the situation knowingly, and then all of a sudden you want to flip the script and get upset, later on down the line. In other words, have regrets. Man, I knew I shouldn't have did. No, if you accepted it for what it was, then you roll out with that demonstration. You don't come later and because you are longing for what it is you may be longing for, and then say, all right, this is it right here. Yeah, I think we need to separate. No, you don't do that. You don't do it. So um, there's a lot of powerful measures in Kemet when we go into understanding the fact that a goddess is a priestess. What they call Hemet nature. You know, in other words, she has to be taught to be a servant of the great God, not a servant of man. And once she becomes a servant of the great God, then she can serve, her family as well. And the same thing with the brother. He got to become a servant of the great God, and then he can serve his family. In other words, ones can demonstrate what we call Act 7. That's what it boiled down to at the end of the day. You see, conforming to those special measures. I mean, there's so many different drawings when you go into the history of our ancestors. And if you do the deep dive, in what it is that they brought to the masses. We also know that there were laws that were brought into manifest in Kemet as well, dealing with the safeguarding of the property rights of the seeds, daughters and sons. So it was always Ma'atit, but more than anything, establishing a family was the most important aspect of marriage. You see? So in other words, you want this special union to be passed down from generation to generation. You see? Also, in most cases in Kemet, the families consisted of a mother and father, about 5 children. You see, with an average of 3 or 4 offspring having passed away a lot of times in infancy as well. But nevertheless, they at least had 4 or 5 in the household, a real family. Hit or miss, somebody was going to carry on what it is that that particular family began, and planting the seeds of being a family. We also know in the way of life of Islam, men are allowed to take up to 4 wives. But even Prophet Muhammad said it would be best that one, settle with one, if he knew what was best for him. You see? And so I say don't take on no burden greater than you can bear, for those who are thinking about demonstrating in that special way. And when they did this, a lot of this though has to do with economic reason. That's why a lot of the Arab families, are able to be as successful as they are, because when they do come into that type of unity, if you got, a God man on the mat, 5 different people in one household, 5 grown people, and if all of them successful, to a certain degree, well, you can look at the offspring as being successful as well, because all of them are like a whole team. Teamwork make the dream work. I'm just speaking on the positive and the upside of this demonstration. They'll never struggle. Not them 5 living under the same house. If all of them are on their purpose and all of them are on the same page, man, ain't nowhere in the world you can, struggle. But the thing is, though, brothers, when you go out, you can't just go out trying to pick the ripest of the ripe and, just cause something look good to you and appealing to the eye. Actually, you're supposed to pull the God woman that has seed. She might have been widowed. That them the ones because if you're doing it for Allah, then You looking past that, because in West, the main thing they be asking the question, do she got any children? They say kids. They got any kids? That's one of the qualifying factors on whether or not they're gonna marry somebody. So in polygamy, these are the women that are first, that one has to consider. Like I said, it ain't just because you're looking at someone on the outside, oh man, that thing look good. Yes, no, it don't go like that. You see? So I just wanted to overemphasize that so we make that plain. But I mean, if you got it in you to deal with that, if ones can demonstrate that real unity, all is well. But if one doesn't have all their ducks in the row, so to speak, they ain't crossed their T's and dotted their I's, I encourage one to just have one wife, because you end up in a real bad situation. And you'll have them five, coming down on you, especially if they all agree together. I mean, them four agreeing together. So I seen situations of polygamy. I seen sisters that was unhappy because they felt they was being treated differently, and all types of stuff. So this thing really has to be thought out if one gonna demonstrate in that particular area. Also, one of the main drawings that was demonstrated in Kemet was the holding of hands. We can see this actually recorded in a lot of the busts of the statues in ancient Kemet. You don't see this no more. In the new era and time, you see people with their head down in the phone. They go out to a place to eat in a restaurant. They ain't paying no attention to each other. They more worried about what's going on social media. So it's a lot of things that have broken the vibe of companionship. But nevertheless, holding hands, believe it or not, the hand is symbolic to the mind. If you're dealing with a hand class, this is a hand class of unity. Some people, I don't know if they feel like they're too good or they're embarrassed or whatever the case may be, but a lot of people do not hold hands, in public when it comes to the marriage unit. You'll see this more, if anything, in the young generation. They dealing with a little puppy love, and they may be so into each other. But the people that have a little age on them, man, you can almost see how people are disgruntled and everything. The looks on them unhappy, unhappy. But I guarantee you, when they communicate with other people that are outside of their marriage, they talk about how great things are and, how good it is and, a whole bunch of things. Man, it's just a powerful thing. We need to go back to the ways of our ancestors, most definitely, and a lot of things they demonstrated. And they didn't have a lot of documentation for their marriage ceremonies, but there are legal texts that have to deal with marriage contracts that have survived from 747 up 332 BC. Dealing with, again, the property rights and marriage and all other types of aspects dealing with the contract. Also what a brother, was to allot to the god woman or the goddess. You see? We know in ancient Kemet, the pharaohs had, again, a number of wives. But then there was, the concept of all of them playing the role at some time of, the principal wife, based upon their duties in most cases. You see? There were also diplomatic marriages. A lot of people don't know, and that's another thing too. There were certain times where the kings would marry, the poor into their lineage, in order that, descendants of those who may have been unfortunate may have a better situation by coming into that lineage. That's a drawing that also survived into Islam. Also dealing with the prophet, our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Our holy prophet ain't got no youngins all over the place. So that show you how much he was when it came to, being in the lower self as far as jumping. The proof is right there that he was more about his work than anything. But nevertheless, he had ceremonies by which he married ones into the royalty, so that they would basically come up under that honor. Just like Muhammad did the same thing. We can go on and on with these special drawings. They had measures where in Ancient Kemet, there were marriage ceremonies where they were demonstrated between the pharaoh and his sister. Now, we're not getting into the aspects of incest and all that type of demonstration because we don't promote that. But a lot of time these things were done as a result of, royalty. And that sister could may well end up marrying a husband. There wasn't no conjugal relations. There's nothing going like that between them. And a lot of people go into the emphasis of all saw and all set, as brother and sister. But they were more of spiritual brothers and sisters. As I say all the time, a brother should honor his wife, and protect her as he would his own sister, But that's a spiritual measure. Not only is that your God woman, but you are her God man, but you are her spiritual brother. She's your spiritual sister under the great God Allah. So we can go a little further, dealing with, a lot of people don't know that the throne, being that it could be passed down through the female line, it was often mostly associated with that of the God man. All you got to do is really go and study this stuff. When you say royal family, that's a real powerful measure. Everybody don't get that. You see, everybody can't receive that title, the royal family. You had to really be honorable in order to be referred to as a royal family. There's a mention of the marriage of the Neteru. There were some politics, in relation to dealing with marriages, just like there are now. But at the end of the day, history best reflects itself, by means of what we can observe, according to the actions of those who came before us, so to speak. You see, and so we live and we learn as a result of this. Now, there are laws, and you can go into the reliance of the traveler, that speaks on, the union. And one of the things it states is marry one another that you may increase. Now, a lot of people may think that this has to do with being fruitful and multiplying, and all that. But real increase in marriage, meaning that if you come together in that unity, it's like a negative and a positive force, and neither one is negative or positive, but it's just like a charge that one gives, so to speak, to bring about a flow of electrical current. So think of the flow of the current as a result of the unity of you and your God woman. That's why they say power couple. The things that you can increase and accomplish as a result of the blessing, of that special bond. Sometimes you'll have two people together and they'll produce nothing. Then you can have two people together and they actually uplift and increase each other. They just basically have that union, so to speak. You see, it's just a natural tie. You have to be willing to stand with each other through the storm. How many times do you see a queen in the history of Kemet abandoning, her husband, when the enemy comes to overthrow him? How many times will you see the God man abandoning his goddess, because of the struggles or the fears, of a particular battlefield? You don't see this being demonstrated. In most cases, you got to take the God man out, you taking the God woman out too, or vice versa. So there's no situation outside of the marriage tie that can cause or influence anyone to panic to the extent that, well, now the marriage tie is compromised based upon some outside force of what seems to be a threat. You see, like now in the new era in time, spouses and companions may break ties based upon bad credit. I'm just thinking of some things. A lack of finance, or let's see, one is outgoing and the other is not outgoing. And I mean, we can go through many different aspects, but we just want to give our family insight that this is not that when we talk about the marriage tie in Moorish America. You see, this is not that. It's all dealing with oneness. It's all dealing with union. I got some measures over here in the Reliance of the Traveler talk about, the male, since a marriage witnessed by a man, two women, would not be valid. It says, though it would be valid in the Hanafi school. And this is talking about having witnesses. One has to know that one has sound hearing. They have to be competent, so to speak. The father is most likely involved, and the mother is involved with these things. The bride's guardian, even though she's a grown woman, you still got to consult with the father, consult with the mother. That way it don't be no conflict in the future. If you know that it's going to be some conflict from the onset, then all right, it's going to be a bad situation. Because her mom and her father, or one of them, going to always be in our business. So this ain't going to work. So if that's what it is, then, we may have to reconsider, or whatever the case may be. So also, it can be the brother if the father is not present to deal with the marriage tie. But these people have to be conscious. You see, they can't just be anybody just by the sake it's a father and a mother. There are a lot of conjugal rights that a woman and the man have upon each other. One should never use those rights to try to enslave the other, or control others, and there are a whole bunch of things that go into the, really a marriage. A marriage is like cultivating in a garden. You see, you got to tend to it, or else it's gonna be some real problems. You see, I just want to give honors again to the Moorish marriage tie. I want to give honors to the Ancient Kmt and foundation that we stand upon when it comes to our union of the God man and the God woman. Yeah, we got to be on point. We got to always, and that's another thing too, brothers and sisters, when it comes to demonstrating and you on your own and just say y'all have time where you work, or there are times of separation. Ones have to have trust. Trust is everything. If you ain't got no trust, then it might be something that you might not be doing right. So you feeling some type of way because you are lacking in a particular area. It can be a brother or a sister, but if one's demonstrating with a clean and pure heart and mind, and one is not in fear, of anything. One is not afraid of anything. So these are just powerful. We got to be able to trust each other. Trust is everything. There can be a situation, and everything should always be dealing with the factor of, is my spouse obeying the great God? So you ain't got to worry about brothers, the sister obeying you, or sisters, the brother obeying you. We talking about, is this one following the high dictates of life? Can we sit down in agreement and come to some consensus on some things, or is it one person trying to dominate the whole relationship and one don't want to hear what's going on? We have to look at all that right there, because all of those things make and break marriage ties. You see, neither the brother or the sister should be rebellious. You see, man, we got to be able to keep up, with everything that's necessary. We got to be an example, and the best example is by constantly staying in the higher self, learning how to master the self. You really want to know what make you an adept? That's really, this marriage ties what's going to get you right. Because you may be able to be disciplined and everything else when it comes to dealing with other people, outside of your household. But can you hold that same discipline, when it comes to your better half? Do you have the same restraint? Or behind closed doors, you trying to tear something up, so to speak? You're hooping and hollering and cussing and fighting, and you Moorish in the public, but are you demonstrating the Moorish degree behind the scenes? See, that's what we want to talk about, and everybody have up and down, don't get me wrong now, but it should never get to the point to where one go to threatening, trying to take somebody's life, or one get physical, trying to physically harm somebody. We told y'all in our last measure, that a lot of the things that have been translated as physical was really symbolic. You see? So, yeah, just different things like that, more. Nothing that we ain't already discussed. The main thing is we have to be honest with ourselves and be true to the self. And with that, we can never go wrong in any relationship that we dealing with. That way nobody feel like they deceived, or somebody trying to be deceptive, or somebody feel like they being taken advantage of. All of that. And peace and love, Sister Dulcinea. Gratitude to you, goddess and queen. So yeah, that's what it has to do with when we talk about that marriage tie and that bond. The main thing is that ones have to be ma'atic in the mindset, truth and right. Ones have to be upright, independent, and fearless in any and every situation. Just being outright honest. Honesty is what brings trustworthiness. You see? Honesty of what brings trustworthiness. A lot of times when things are not where they should be, the spirit gives you the vibration that something ain't right. It's something that needs to be worked on. It's something that needs to be done. In the event of failure coming into the manifest, disunion. How is it that two people that love each other can all of a sudden come into conflict to the extent to where they hate each other? What causes that? I tell you what it is. It's because most of the time when we're dealing with the West, we're dealing with a marriage of convenience. Not a marriage tie that comes from divinity, but just to be able to say, look at me. We married over here. You see us? Just so that people can see that you married. But in most cases, the people that are married are, more terrible than the people that are not married. Sometimes you'll see two people been together forever and got a stronger tie than ones that actually had the Western ceremony. I remember one time I was pumping some gas, and I had a sister. She approached me in a particular way, and I said, "I'm married, sister. But no offense to you. Well, what the HEL that's supposed to mean? That just mean no strings attached." I'm like, what? Like literally, you know, and this is the mindset that we dealing with, and it ain't sisters just thinking like that. It's brothers with that same mindset, and so the marriage tie ain't being respected no more. Then there's sisters out there that's looking for, good brothers. I remember one time it was a sister, and she approached me. I was getting something to eat during the lunchtime, and she said, "I came in here for you, right?" I say, "No, ma'am." And I say, "I apologize, sister. I'm married." Even though I deal with we understand, we respect the polygamy and so forth and so on. And it's the same thing. So you got sisters out there looking for, a good brother. You got brothers looking for a good sister. It's so bad now that where you have people come into the conscious community, Morris Ken, and they'll come up in here for the purpose of looking for a brother, looking for a sister, the brothers and sisters, you know what I mean? And what happens is that if one soul mindset is that, then you'll come for that and you'll lead a prophet at the door. I had a brother, like, man, when I'm gonna be able to get with one of these sisters, man, and get me a wife, one of the Moors a while back. That was his sole goal. I don't know where he at now. I guess he went looking elsewhere. But if something is meant for you, it's meant for you. That's what it is. You let nature take its course, and that's what it is. But if you come with that in mind, you have, an attachment. That's like putting again, those last crown jewels before, the first one. We already know food, clothes, and shelter is the last. Without knowledge, wisdom, and understanding being the first, and having them in order, you're going to be burnt up from the start. You see? I have a drawing where I had put it online. I said, "I seek refuge in Allah from loving with equality that which should never be equal to the love of Allah alone." And what I was saying about that, most of us, when we deal with being in the plane of things made manifest, we have a tendency to fall in love. When I say fall in love, I'm talking about not just with somebody outside of yourself. I'm talking about with things that are on the manifest period. People can say they love a house, they can say they love their dog, their cat, a car, or whatever. And a situation come around and the price is right, most of them realize they didn't love it as they say they did. Because true love is unconditional, and true love is, there's no change in it. Love is what made us. We didn't make love, even though a lot of our people think they make love. They like to use that terminology. No, love made you. So that's why I say I seek refuge in Allah from loving with equality that which should never be equal to the love of Allah alone. And we understand when we see it that way, then we're dealing with rising in love. You see, and that's talking about anything, any attachment that has to do with the manifest. May the great God Allah give one the heart and mind to where we don't get caught up in any particular pocket, in life, to where we allow it to overshadow our mission. We have to seek refuge in Allah, from that type of love. All love ain't divine love. All love ain't love divine. That's why, the adept degrees, when you get into the adept degree of the highest is dealing with the ministry of love divine. You see? So we have to have that in our mind as well when we talk about this marriage tie, and this holy matrimonial Hajj. Like I said again, we have to go on this Hajj within, before we can go and make any type of union or deal with a ceremony, we got to do it. Even our sisters, being over here in this Western society where, most likely you're dealing with somebody that is a chauvinist, or, they basically a womanizer, whatever you want to call it. You too have to go on the pilgrimage like the brother, just like the brother got to go on a pilgrimage and learn how to respect, his elder sisters, learn how to, have protection for those that they don't even know. This is a task that we put one on. And so what you do is you place this in your consciousness to where it becomes first mind to you, first nature. And so when you deal with your mate, you would deal with your mate accordingly, because a lot of times when you see the stranger, or the elder sister, so to speak, that may be old enough to be our mother, what the first thing you're going to open the door for? Right? Common courtesy and justice of manhood, right? I've seen now in the new time where it be sisters like 70 or 80 years old, and I'm getting ready to open the door for them. Sisters didn't even expect, the door to be open, because they feel like this generation or the younger generation done got so far, and they, oh, thank you, and I tell them a lot of times when they passing by me, in the grocery store, young, old, it don't matter. I stop, let people go about their business. They be like, no, and I say, I wish I would, let you wait there while I walk in front of you. No, you come on over here, you go ahead. You know what I mean? It ain't a lot of chauvinism going on in this new era of time, but when you live by honor and you carry yourself according to principles of honor, you're going to always demonstrate like that. If it's two brothers, that's another thing. If you see a brother and a sister together, it's always good to be honorable, especially, whether you're looking at it in a marriage tie, not they together. So, you want to cater to them. If they coming through, you let both of them in there. Come on, brother. Come on, sister, And these are the things that our people have to begin to see all the time. It shouldn't be no situation where when a brother is on the manifest and another brother is there with his God woman, or vice versa, a sister is on the manifest and she there with her God man. It shouldn't be where one is like, oh, is this one right here looking at, or this one trying to take my, you know what I mean? Or this one a threat to me? Because that's what most interactions be, outside of dealing with the higher self. I'm just saying that we have to go on that pilgrimage, family, within, and really learn how to treat. If you're in the close vicinity of somebody, this is to our brothers, our sisters. You have gifts. It ain't got to deal with nothing. You give gifts, to your elder sister, elder brother, however it be. You know what I mean? Vice versa, dealing with the opposite sex. We can go on and on. We already know what the problem is. We just trying to talk about the solution and the real aspects of the marriage tie according to what we demonstrate. But, I ain't going to go on and keep rambling. These are just some of the things that, we should be demonstrating. I like that our good brother, Denata Bosco, said, love is going to get you. Bless. Yeah, that was a song. You got a bunch of songs out there. Love Power by the brother Willie Hutch, I think that was who it was. Who it is. What's love got to do with May Tina Turner rise in power? God woman with the ancestors. Strong goddess. What else? Man, we can go on and on and on and on. Love, love, love. Our people been singing about it for the longest. You should get the Gospel of Hip Hop by KRS-One. I got that over here too. Got a lot of divine teachings in that. But yeah, yeah. I think it was the brother Lamont Dozier say the stars in the moon above can never outshine our love. On the song that he had called Shine. That's a real poetic piece right there. I love that song right there. You know, the elder was really demonstrating love divine outside of the manifest, you know. So I just want to just open up the way for that. And we're going to open up the floor right now so that we can hear from our family. I'm going to stop running my mouth and, you know, we can let our family come in here and get a drawing. And if our family is out there in the audience and they would like to come in, they can come in and get their input as well. All are welcome. So I dropped the link in the box if anyone will cam up and I'll speak on what we've been talking about. So at this time, what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up the floor so that I can hear from my Moorish kin and see, you know, what they have in mind, you know, when it comes to understanding co-regency, you know, and also the marriage instructions for man and wife from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And also, you know, how that ties into a lot of our understanding of Kemet as well. So at this time, we're going to open up the floor and *6 your phone, Moorish kin. Come in and get your drawing, whether on the conference call number or our platform here for those who got the link and those who are there. So Islam, *6 your phone, more. If you have your measure, you want to exercise your 5. Thank you, Brother Marvin Edwards Bay, also for your work, grand man. Islam, that's Sister Curta Bay.
Islam, God man, is me. I am here. Dr. Dendra Leah Curta Bay. First, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act One. I give honors to all my government officials. And I give honors to our Council General, Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay, for holding down the fort. And we give honors to you, National Assistant Grand Chief, for this powerful class tonight. I tell you, I was just sitting there, just listening and enjoying, and just kind of reminiscing back, back from when I come up, even with my parents, with myself, and just listening to you, and this is a much needed conversation, a much needed teachings during this time, and your subject was marriage instructions for man and wife from our holy prophet Noble Drew Ali, and what really stands out to me, it says the supreme laws of the prophet are now being enforced throughout our land. In other words, our prophet knew that we didn't have a clue about what a marriage supposed to be, because especially us born over here in the West, we didn't know nothing about that. And when you was talking about the jealousy and just the whole mindset of our people, and how I believe Brother Marvin Edwards, he would say how the mindset of the people now, they don't want to get married. Either they may have been in a relationship, and maybe two more has been in a male and female, and the female got kind of dogged out by the male. Now she mad and upset. Now she want to turn to the European, and she think he gonna treat her better than what our people do, and vice versa. The men do it too. They get hurt by some of us, and some of our women who didn't know, didn't have a clue, and they are turned to the European. And when our prophet plainly told us not to amalgamate or intermarry with them, and then you got some, they've been hurt so bad. They want to go to the opposite, the same sex, but we know all of this is because of mental slavery, and we don't condemn nobody. We don't condone the act, but we love the person. We don't condone that, but we love the person because we know that they are misguided and misled and confused and all of these things. And I can remember. I'm trying to hurry up. I can remember even when I was coming up, when you was talking about that jealousy, I got real tickled because some of the older goddesses used to say, but this was what their mind was at that time. Well, you got to be a little jealous because that lets you know that he loved you and you love him. You're gonna be a little jealous. I never could understand that. And Dr. Shahi, even in the Bible. And I know where they got it from. They got it from that Bible. Even in the Bible, it said that God was a jealous God. So we thought it was okay to be a little jealous, but we were just all mixed up. And gratitude, God, man, for this powerful teaching that you have brought forth. And I encourage everybody to listen to this playback. Listen to it. Let your young people, let your children, grandchildren, especially who of age, let them listen to this. Because when you train up a child in the way he should go, when he get old, he won't depart. So we got to train we got to teach our young people about Moorish marriages and how the man's supposed to be and how the woman's supposed to be. And we got some powerful chapters getting ready to come up here. But gratitude, I know I'm going to let my other Moorish King jump in here. But gratitude, God, man, for this powerful class. I really am enjoying myself. Islam, peace and love.
In Islam, peace and love, Sister Curta Bay. We give honors to you for that drawing. And that's a powerful measure, man. You get to talking about that jealousy. See, I was blessed and fortunate, unfortunately, to learn from a lot of my friends around me. I've been in situations where we be at a drive-through together, and I'm in the bike seat, and the brother passed the money in there, and by the time he get back in the car, he done got jap slapped. Man, she done almost knocked the teeth out his mouth. You know what I mean? I done seen some crazy thing, Morris kid. I done been in the bike seat with one of my friends, and he got this woman so mad. We got the youngins back there with us and everything. I kill all us in this melodrama. And grab the steering wheel. I'm like, hey, man, we got youngins in here. Are you crazy? But I done been in a lot of situations. I done seen the brother come through the doorway because he went to the store and she on him, smelling him for cologne, perfume, different cologne, different soap or whatever the case may be. It'd be crazy. So me seeing a lot of that, I was basically like, no. We can't be dealing with that. And praise be to Allah, I've always been so honorable that every sister that I have had relationship with, in my youth, in the past, they still honor me and respect me now. Not a one of them look at me as, with hatred and it's all right. How you doing, sister? Keep it moving. Ain't no, all right. Hey, how you doing? Let's demonstrate the fling thing. It's a mutual respect. I can honestly say that I don't have nobody that hate me, because I always demonstrated being honorable. And so, yeah, it's crazy though. That jealousy can get real crazy, oh man, have people going through your personal belongings and it get crazy. I done seen it, trust me. So Islam, is there any other more who would come forth and give their measure? Exercise your fire. The floor is still open. We want to hear from you. What you may be holding back, that's what our people need. Islam, I know good and well we ain't got no crookeds in here. Don't make me start drafting you more. Islam.
Islam. This is Dr. Batu Berry with the Arbiter. President Rise give all men the praise to allow honest to the prophet. Outside theocratic government, our royal council, our flag, seal, emblem, and divine constitution, our swift angels, must teach citizens alike honest to all the ones who spoke before me. All the ones who will speak after. I see you for this class. And this question on the floor. And we're thinking about the co-regency and marriage. You know, when I was coming up, I wasn't. My mom would always say I'm hard, and she had her choice of words, but that I was hard on women, and and I, that stems from that can be drugged into a whole different, those thoughts can be traced back and to other realms of thoughts, and the fact that not having no ground with yourself. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got no grounding in yourself. You don't know how to ground. You don't know how to manage your your emotions or your thought pattern. A lot of things could, you get through it. You know what I'm saying? And then as I got older and really started to do you hear Justice in the Bay say doing that shadow work and things of that nature, you start really going into the aspect of things, and realizing that the biggest failure for us in relationships is communication. I'm a big advocate on trying to, my mom used to make, basically, I'm going to tell you the reason why. My mom used to make us read the dictionary. Anytime we would use a curse word, she'd make us go write every single, if it was an A word, a cuss word, she'd make us write every single word and definition for that word in the dictionary. So, but I didn't even know what that was for at that time, you know what I'm saying? But getting older, and then I was taking the Toastmasters class, and I had a brother that he was a lifer, and he would always tell me, he said, if you can't communicate what you want, how is somebody else going to know to be able to give it to you? And that's where we as a society, as a people, we fail to communicate what we need. We fail to communicate what we want. We fail to communicate our standards, codes, and ethics to each other, to us as a unit, and to us as a nation of people. It seems like prior we probably had some type of ideal. You know what I'm saying? But then you've seen that it varied. So the lack of communication is one of the biggest hang-ups that causes frustration in a relationship. Because either one person, and when we talk about communication is not just talking. It's not just articulating. Communication is also, what they say, actively listening. Not listening to respond, or what they say, hearing you. Not trying to hear you, but actually listening. That means I'm comprehending, I'm taking in the aspect of what you're saying, the tone, the pitch, the variety of words that you're using. I'm really sciencing what you're saying out before I even give you a response back. And so we live in a delusional society. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, they want traditional ways, but aren't prepared to do traditional things. So then it goes back to, and that's what also causes the ones not being forthright. And so as I got older, I realized that it's better for me to say what I need and offend somebody than it is to sit back and wait for you to do something where I'm going to be offended. You see what I'm saying? That way, if it's all on the table up front, there can't be no misunderstanding, at least on my behalf, because I done did my part. It's like that rain. You drop it, and don't care who get wet. And so when it comes down to how we communicate with each other, it can't just be a no thing. There's a lot of things that are happening outside of life that one's is processed. So it's not just a no thing. You get to that point over time, but a lot of things you have to put in the work. And a lot of people either I'm scared of being single, or they're just not grounded enough in themselves. A lot of people haven't been alone. A lot of people haven't sacrificed. And this if you can't sacrifice, if you haven't been without, you're not prepared for a relationship. If you ain't sacrificed something that you felt like before you brought into the concept of what this is, and you felt like it was gonna kill you, you ain't sacrificed nothing. You ain't prepared for no relationship. You know what I'm saying? So I remember this. I forgot who said this. They said it's not who you love more; it's who you can suffer the most for. You know what I'm saying? And it's not in the sense of just you talking about suffering, but in the sense that this relationship is a roller coaster ride. And until you find a smooth course to get in on and can help that other one see that the course that you need to get in on is this, and this will be the easiest course because our goals are aligned, but our pathways aren't. You know what I'm saying? And and that's why I always go back to the communication. There's a failure of sound communication when it comes to our community on all things of ground. And I think that if the communication can be, if the communication with each other helps, that'll bring the unity on the manifest. But like you said in that previous class, people don't want to talk about people don't want to talk about things that's going to make them accountable for their actions. They rather have somebody they can point a finger at instead of looking at themselves in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? So with that, I'll leave you the common piece as well.
Islam. Yep. And that's the whole key. When we learn to look into the face of, our special companion and see the great God Allah, we will all be well. But if we see him as just a ball of flesh, yeah, man, they can be anything. So we give honors to you, brother, about that special drawing there. It don't get no plainer. Yes, sir. All right. Are there any other Moors who would like to come forth and exercise their 5? Floor is Islam. Islam, brother Yehuda.
Islam, National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Islam Grand Class. Let me rise and give all praise to Mighty God Allah. Let me give honors to Holy Prophet Al-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali. Let me give honors to a Moorish American government, its officials, Act 1. Let me give honors to our flag, seal, and emblem. Give honors to Moorish Americans here, there, and everywhere. I am Dr. Akua Ru Jehudi Bey. So let me give honors to those who speak before me and those who speak after me. Islamism. Well, Shaheed, I growing up, it's always best to have both parents in the household, especially for young men to have their father to guide and lead them along the way on how to be a man. I see how the father treats his mother. For some of us, myself, didn't have that. And I praise Allah for being my guide in life. And seeing how they treat others is key. And especially seeing how my uncles would treat their wives or my cousins, how they would treat theirs. We didn't have it too much representation on the television. I think the first Moorish couple that was ever on TV was, if I'm mistaken, somebody help me, with Bill Cosby, the Cosby Show. I believe that was the first. But we didn't have much to go on. And at the same time, we know now that there was a design program to break the families up. And, pit the man against the woman, woman against the man. And continues to this day. Islam, like you said, marriage is like cultivating a garden. We as men, we try to make sure that our garden is protected, healthy, and flourishing in life. And I give honors to my brother Bati Bey, because that communication is true. It's very key, as is trust in one another, trust in mighty God Allah. And as you were saying, the spirit gives you a vibration. I found out that great God Allah, I always call it, myself, I call it a sensor. He put a sensor in us to know when we're around a negative vibration, or someone moving in a low spirit, low vibration. And when we get in relationships, if we come in contact with someone that is demonstrating that, they may want to argue over something, trivial, like how you holding your fork when you eating dinner. You're going to argue about that. Or, like you say, you went to the mailbox, you took too long to go to the mailbox, you must be talking to the neighbor. All kind of things to start an argument or create some type of drama. When one finds someone like that, you can rest assured that that's how they're going to be. You may be in a relationship and you may be thinking about marrying this one, but you think you might try to change them, bring them into a higher understanding of themselves. It doesn't always work. That person may be stuck in that position. And also, it's our great God Allah who is able to minister the fix or hit the healing. Islam, and to find someone that believes in the great God Allah, that thinks along the same lines as you do, that feels about life and about how to be with one another, to how they feel about love, and being equally yoked together, being connected. When you find someone like that, that vibration will hit you. You will know it. The great God Allah is connected you to them. Islam, and so when we think about putting ourselves out there and looking for a mate, it doesn't always work that way, because the great God Allah has already ordained someone for you. So you really don't have to go to a department store or your neighborhood grocery store trying to find what's shiny on the shelf. The great God Allah will hand deliver this person to you, and it could be just walking in the park or pumping gas. So we give honors to you for this class and bringing these lessons to us. Finding a mate with pure heart and mind. Like nowadays, with all the negativity in our people, it's a difficult thing to do. Back in the day, you mentioned about the music. We had Barry White, we had Isaac Hayes and Marvin Gaye, and all the ones that would make music. And it was about relationships, how to build a relationship, how to maintain a relationship, how to treat a goddess, how to treat a God man. And we had these things to help us along the way. Now it's all about the opposite of that. I won't go into all of it, but it's not, the purity in the music is gone. The spirit of our music is gone. and it's unfortunate. So let me stop there. I give honors to you for this class, Shaheed. Peace and love to you, and we love you.
Islam, man.
Islam.
Man, it don't get no powerful than that, Jehudi, man. You right, because I heard about 5 songs a day while I was doing my work. And every last one of them had to do with basically excusing being promiscuous. They had one song say, if I get caught cheating, that don't mean I don't love you. I say, what? You know, this is the type of stuff they pumping out there in the to the media, you know, to the youth. You know, either that or just a whole bunch of stuff that got to do with somebody betraying somebody, and you know, it's all low vibration, so to speak. It gives us the insight to be able to know where our people are along the way, of course. But unfortunately, that's the way Rome demonstrate. Rome like to push controversy out there, whether it be a soft expression of it or a harsh expression of controversial music. And in fact, most time when you get an artist that can demonstrate concept music like the ancestors did back in the day, you know, the brothers you name, they'll put them on the shelf. This ain't what the people want. You know, they want to hear some foolery. And so, yeah, it's definitely taking the vibration of the youth down a different path. You know, so, man, I tell you, we got to get it together and do it quick. You know, so. All right. Is there any other more to come forth and give their drawing?
Islam.
All right, Islam, Sister Kmt, we'll get you. Was that Marvin Edward Bay too?
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, pardon about it.
Oh no, all the way. I just wanted to make sure that was you, so I let her go, and then I let you in, good brother. All right, Sister Kmt, what do you have to say?
Yes, sir. This is Sister Kmt. I'm in Michigan. I rise, honor, and praise the great God Allah. I honor His Prophet Noble Ali, official citizens, Moors here, there, and everywhere, especially my Moorish kin. My Moorish kin knows that I've never married and I've never reproduced. It used to bother me some, especially as I was getting a bit older. And some years back, I learned to be content with my life the way it is. I can't speak much on the role of a woman in a marriage because I've never been one. I've been in one. I've never experienced it. I've had very long-lasting, committed relationships, but I don't believe in divorce. Even prior to being conscious, I didn't believe in divorce. And if things are happening a certain way while you're together, it's not going to change with the wedding vow. If you're cheating while we're together, getting married is just going to be called adultery instead of cheating. So I was living with regrets, things of that nature. And then I realized that I have the husband, God, man, Allah, in my life. And I'm content with that. The love that I get from Allah is the love that I expect from a God man. When I go into meditation, when I pray and all that, I communicate with Allah, and I'm content with Allah being the God man in my life. I have God men, such as my Moorish kin and the men in my earthly family, as far as fleshly forms. The romance portion of it, needless to say, is is non-existent. That doesn't bother me. I've had more than enough romance in my lifetime, but being content with your life, being content with however it ends up and whatever status you have. So I shared that to just let the goddesses and the God men know that even if you aren't in a Moorish marriage, which is the only marriage that is of relevance, not the Roman marriage laws, be content with yourself, your God state, and you'll be all right. Gratitude.
Gratitude, Sister Kmt. We give honors to you for that drawing. Praise be to Allah for that love thought. All right, Brother Marvin Edwards Bay.
Islam.
Islamism without the schism.
Yes, sir. Gratitude. Yes. Praise Muhammad have been given. Yes, this is Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay out of Texas Conflict. Praise Muhammad have been given. Gratitude for calling me. And a very powerful class. It started out, and especially dealing with this chapter, and as I spoke on earlier, and I won't be long. I had to call on the official. See how the whole Quran, is one lesson, so to speak. So they all connected, and when we're talking about the marriage instructions for man and wife from the noble prophet, and I have to reflect back in my life, things that I've gone through, different marriages and the whole point of marrying in the beginning, the way I look at life now, just studying yourself, just elevating my consciousness to the level that I can be at peace with the great God. You know what I mean? Of course, I'm going to interact on this manifest plane. You know what I mean? But for me, it's more of being one with the great God. I heard a lot that this is what we're supposed to be about, but these days it's making more sense. You know what I mean? You can try, you're like trying to go for one thing and you end up with something else. But marriage life is, it will be good to have someone, a companion. You know what I mean? But like the first thing is, knowing who made you. You know what I mean? Like these are basic things, and being a Moorish American, that there's no question about, obeying the Prophet's laws. You know what I mean? And everything in this Quran, so these are the important things for me because I know that, even though I have been married and stuff, I really shouldn't have been because I didn't know anything about it. You know what I mean? And I think the average marriage, I'm not going to say the average marriage, but the Prophet did say some of his good boys is still in the church. So there's room for growth all around, But, it is a very powerful class. I mean, and we need to have these type of lessons to bring our people to a higher level of looking at everything. You know what I mean? Not just wanting to be with somebody just to say you with somebody. Be with yourself first. And that took a while for me because I always had to help someone, several ones. But I learned better today. And I'm just going to leave it right there, God, man. Gratitude for allowing me to speak. Islam and peace.
And gratitude for the measure, Grand Man. We give honors to you for that drawing. Good note to end on. So we give honors to all of our Moorish kin who came forth.
Islam.
And also honors to you, Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay, for aiding and assisting us along the way. Islam, I hear somebody phone open. Somebody line open.
Islam, Grandman.
Okay, Islam, Brother Muhammad Bey. Mr.
Do
Joe.
we have enough time? I'll make it short.
Yeah, go ahead, Islam.
Gratitude, Grandman. Gratitude. Islam, I'm Dr. Joe Hamid Muhammad Bey of the South Carolina Consulate. I want to give praise to our Father God, Allah, who is the best known arranger of all things. I want to give honors to his holy prophet, our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And I want to give honors to our Moorish American nation, our Moorish American government, and everything Moorish. I want to give honors to you, our National Assistant, Grand Sheik of Moorish America, for this grand class this evening. As always, keeping the prophet out front through these divine lessons and directives, to give honors to those that spoke before me and those that will speak after me. Islam. It's a grand class, my brother. You know, when you talked about, the marriage, I think, one of the things that stuck out with me when you use the terminology about the co-regency, and my beloved goddess and I, we were discussing, the understanding of that, and we know, she wasn't here when you was talking about it, but we know that that's dealing with what is called royalty. One has to really understand when you talk about royalty. You know, it's not so much as the title, as it is the state of being. So when we talk about co-regency, which is the dealing with the relationship between the husband and the wife, and in my humble understanding, the only way that a marriage or a relationship can be a co-regency would be that it has to be founded, as you stated, Grandman, upon each of their relationship with their Father God. That is the pure and sure foundation that will always endure. That communication, that relationship by itself is the highest form of royalty. It's the highest form of nobility that a man or a woman can have. Then when you get a man and a woman that both, right, that are on this particular degree or state, right, of mind, and they come together, then what happens is the central figure, the balancing point in the relationship becomes God. It's divine. It eliminates the ego. It eliminates jealousy, anger. Doesn't mean that these things don't come in, but because of the divinity, of the presence of the divinity of God and his principles and rules and regulations, then the two will always, right, because of their love, will always be based in that. Islamic gratitude. Thanks for letting me share.
In Islam, in gratitude for that measure, brother. Islamism without the schism. Praise be to Allah. We give honors to you for that love thought. So at this time, we want to call forth our is the Grand National Secretary of the State on the manifest, Brother Muhammad Bey? Grand National Secretary, Assistant Grand National Secretary of the State. Sister Alcetta Moon L. Okay, I take that as maybe not.
Islam.
Okay, Islam, sister. All
I'm
set.
busy talking. The mic was muted, Mo. Praise Allah.
Okay, Islam. Gratitude.
Gratitude, Mo. First, let me rise and give all praises to Allah and all honors to our Prophet Nabi Ali, honors to our Moorish American government, our officials of our government, and our citizens. Honors to you for bringing forth a grand Moorish perspective. Honors to our Moorish kin that brought forth their grand measures of understanding, and honors on the topic and the subject matter that you bring forth. Chapter 45. Coming from chapter 45, which I do not have. But I was listening to what the Moors was saying because I came in kind of late into it. But I was listening to the measures that was being brought forth and the measures that you was giving and the examples you were giving. And in my experiences, I've paid attention. My mother always used to tell me, pay attention. And she told me, pay attention to everything. I mean, pay attention to landmarks, pay attention to people, pay attention. I mean, just be aware of your surroundings, period. And so a lot of the things I learned from looking at other people, other couples, other families, family members. Um, one of my two of my cousins I paid real good attention to, and my aunt and my uncle. My aunts and my uncle, because they're old school, so they come from the lineage or the time when you always had a husband and a wife, always had a union, and they didn't believe in divorce, and they didn't have divorces. They toughed it out and they dealt with whatever they had to deal with, and they made it work. And that don't mean it's for everybody. It just means that they were able to persevere through it. And then you have those that couldn't because it became detrimental to the family, so you had to part your ways. Whether it was drinking, um, fighting, whatever, but you don't want it to affect your children, so you have to go. Because you don't want your children, but it does have an effect, even though you might not see it till later on in life. But I learned the one thing my mother taught me was to not get caught up in how things look. And the prophet is so ironic that the prophet have the same principle. He said, don't get caught up in a show and lose sight in reality. And the reality is as a people, we are now, like you said, it's these are trying times, and we don't have time to play anymore. So these lessons that the prophet has brought forth to us, we have to be able to regurgitate them to our people, be able to teach them what the prophet taught us. And that love, our five divine principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice are essential. Because if we don't understand what our prophet is saying, we don't understand what a royal union is, the word that you brought forth, then we don't understand that it's Allah, Ali, and we. And that keeps everything in line. Allah. So what is my purpose? What is Allah's purpose? What is the prophet's purpose for this union? Because remember, it's not about me. It's about the mission at hand. And so even though you go through trials and tribulations, you have to be able to stand strong. And you have to be able to stand long. You have to be able to maintain, because they don't always look the way you want it to be. But what is my purpose? What is my mission? What is my goal? What is my understanding of what the prophet said? And so in this, I always pay attention to, because I've learned from my mistakes and I've learned from other people's mistakes what to do and what not to do. And when I make them, how to get back on track and to persevere. That's essential to me. The resilience of character is important, because if you can't be resilient, you can't maintain, you can't persevere. If you can't endure, you won't persevere. So therefore, you have to keep your prophet up front. You have to keep these laws, these teachings, these lessons, these divine lessons of love that our prophet brought to us on the manifest and before me at all time, in order to be able to live and manifest the truth that the prophet brought to me. So this was a grand class, more gratitude for calling me forth. Peace and love to all my Moishkin. Islamism.
Islamism, Sister Offset, we give honors to you. And we want to give honors to all that you do and all that you will do. And I will say, Sister, the time that we live in now is made to break the strongest bonds, you know, and that's why you got to have these teachings, you got to have these lessons, you know, to really appreciate, you know, what unity is. The prophet say in unity there is strength. And so we give honors to you for that drawing system. Islamism. All right. But let us call forth our National Grand Mufti, Dr. Kanchu Ma'ak Heru Bey, Islam, the Royal Council, Islam, National Grand Mufti, Islam, brother.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, loud and clear.
Islam, you know the tribe.
Yeah, the tribe of endurance
on a mission.
Yeah, we got it. We got the draw.
You mind if I let my wife speak first before I say something?
Oh, yeah, let her come forth. No, brother, anytime. That's the whole tribe, man. Please. Come on, Grand Man.
Yes, sir.
Islam family.
Islamism.
Islam. Gratitude, Grand Man. I am National Grand Secretary of the state of Indiana, Dr. Saad Natinu Hedgeru El, and I rise giving perfect praises to our Father God, Allah, and the highest honors to our holy prophet, El Haj Sharif Abdul Ali. Honors to our theocratic Moorish American government. Honors to all of Act One. Honors to you, National Assistant Grand Chief, for this grand Moorish Perspectives class. And honors to Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay for stepping in when needed. And also honors to our National Assistant Grand Chairman for opening up the way according to law. This has been a grand class, and very much has been said for our Moorish kin about the marriage instructions for man and wife from the Noble Prophet, chapter 45. And I would like to just add, I concur with all of our Moorish kin who have spoken before me, and gratitude to everyone who has came forth. Without these holy and divine lessons, I would say I have definitely learned how to be a Moorish wife through the example of the tribe of endurance and also our other successful families here in our Moorish American nation. Like most of our people, I grew up, I wouldn't say in a single parent household, but I would say that there was a male figure. I wouldn't say that he was the ideal male figure, but there always seemed to be someone around, but just not my father. So it was kind of hard to gain lessons and different things from these male models that was standing in the place of my real father. So I just want to say it's been a grand unfoldment, just learning who I am as a divine goddess and learning how to be a wife. A lot of our people right now don't see themselves as wifey material, or they don't have the mindset of family. A lot of people that we run into, they are kind of because they're like, y'all are married? I don't know too many married people. And the first thing I point them to is our divine constitution and bylaws, and have them read that and understand that we have a standard of how to govern ourselves, how to govern oneself as an individual, and how to govern ourselves in a nation, and also in an organization, and also as a family, as demonstrated Act 7. And it's levels. You have to first understand who you are, you being a free national, being Moorish American national. And then you have to understand that now there is a order to how protocol is supposed to be followed. And once you understand the protocol, that the Grand Sheik and the Chairman of Moorish America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America, and also understand the role of our Assistant Grand Chief and how he's supposed to assist the grand sheik in all affairs if you live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Then you have to understand that now we get into the bylaws. And with the bylaws, you understand that we have 5 highest principles. So it's a grand unfoldment. You just don't come into knowledge of self and say, okay, I'm a wife now. You literally have to get the knowledge of who you are as a divine being, understanding you have a place and a role. And then in fulfilling that and being humble and being content and doing these different roles, then comes the next degree of unfoldment. But you're always constantly learning. It's never a time where you just got it all. And you definitely have to go through the steps of the unfoldment and the degree that it takes to become what you destined already to be. As you have stated in your previous classes, Allah did not make us to be alone. The God man is never without the God woman. So even if you are single, there's still someone out there for you. Maybe it's the fact that you haven't quite studied yourself enough to resonate that frequencies of your opposite partner to come and gravitate to you. But eventually you will get there, and not to just join a movement, just to be in a relationship, because that's destined to fail at the front door. A lot of our sisters, our goddesses, they coming into being Moorish American thinking that they're going to just get wifed up. They're going to automatically find a man. And when that fails, or they create certain conditions where they can no longer govern, they kind of leave the prophet at the front door. So my advice, or my measure, is to be sincere first. Understand who made you. Understand how being in a theocratic Moorish American actually works. And then you have these other degrees, which basically is just studying yourself. You just continue to study yourself, and all is truly well. And I love being a Moorish American goddess. I love being home in my theocratic nation. And peace and love, family. Gratitude for allowing me to speak. National Sister Grand Sheik, Islam.
In Islamism, goddess, we give honors to you for that draw, and praise be to Allah. That's right. Wisdom speaking from the highest plane of spirit life. All right, Grand Mufti.
Islam.
Islam.
Gratitude. Let us rise first and foremost, giving all thanksgiving, adoration, worship, and praise to our Father God, Allah, the great God of the universe, the most beneficent and the most wise. Let us also give the highest honors that we can give to his prophet, our prophet, the last prophet in these days. And in these times, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the savior of humanity. We give honor to his forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we give honor to his government, our government, the Moorish American government, the government in which we live. We give honor to the officials of this said government, our divine ministers and swift angels, our mufti, our royal council and secretaries. We give honor to our citizens, the Moorish Americans. We give honor to our flag, our divine constitution and bylaws, our Holy Quran, our Grand National Seal, Grand National Emblem, and our Book of Fire, the Exhume of a Nation. We give honors to everything that is Moorish. We give a special high honors to you, National Sister Grand Sheik, for bringing forth this grand Moorish perspective this evening. Honors to Consul General out of Texas, Edwards Bay, for his portion. Honors to all of our Moorish kin who have spoken before us, to our Moorish kin that will speak after us. We give honor to you, angels, and we just continue to give the honors where they're due and honoring all true and divine prophets. And yes, we give honors to our ancestors as they have come before us, leading the way. And we are them today without doubt or contradiction, because no one has the power to change man from his descent nature. And praise Allah for that. It's definitely been a grand class. It is a very important subject matter for our people. That's why it's part of the Holy Instructions. Because what is the nation without the family? And my Moorish kin spoke wisely on this. And when you look at part of the instruction, and one says, take up to thyself a wife, and also one must be a husband. So that's a station that one has to prepare themselves before the actual union. You just don't go hop on the space shuttle and say I'm an astronaut, and then try to learn it after you got on the spaceship. You don't go into the doctor or the ER room and then learn how to be a doctor on certain things. You have to prepare yourself for ahead of time before you step into the role, before you can say, well, I qualify for this title. And we have to look at that, and most importantly, because it's a part of the study of the self. As one said, everybody may not want to be married. Everyone may not see themselves as marriage material. Maybe that has to do with, like I said, the working of the self. Because when it comes down to it, as you spoke about, we all are here to live in a balance of society together. And so social duties is a must. And part of being obligated or married to one another is a social duty. Because we know that that's where crime comes from. When one is not being protected and provided for, then, one to do whatever they deem is necessary in order to, meet the ends. And I think that's why it's so important, even about, like you said, the polyandry or the polygamy. Polygamy more to the fact of us, as we do as North Americans, is the fact that we are here to look at that. Chapter 25 tells us that, that his cares continue to us all and our love to each other. And he said it don't have nothing to do with jumping up and down, as you will say, in the bed. That is you spend the least time doing that out of your day. And so that should never be the first concern for us, since we find ourselves in an over-sexualized society where sex sells everything, and everything is based upon how things look. We find ourselves with a misconception. Even for our family here, we are polygamous, but we're not just accepting anybody. And you can't just say, well, I'm conscious. We want someone who's righteous. Because we strive for righteousness. We strive to do what's right. And if you don't demonstrate that type of degree, all you're going to do is bring confusion to our peaceful household. And so that's why we are very particular about who we choose. As you said, it doesn't have out here just trying to choose one, as you said, the ripeness of the crop. One is maybe looks a certain form or something like that, or has no children. No, the children is necessary. As you said, because that's what it's about. Making sure that all the children and all our women and our men have a family. Because family is where we're going to build a strong nation. Family is where we learn the responsibility of coming together. Family is where we learn the interdependency that is important to make this thing run. It's not a dependency, it's an interdependency. We depend on each other, not one depending on the other. And I see a lot of ones, they'll have that misconception, well, the brother, he got to make such and such amount of money in order for that to even work. Well, then that goes on, once again, looking at a dependency instead of an interdependency. It shouldn't be about what one makes, it's about whether one is is righteous and one is leading you down a righteous path. And that is something that has to be discussed ahead of time before you even get to the marriage part, before you even get to laying down with each other. Once you already know, okay, well, what's your plan for the family? Where do you see yourself in this amount of years? How's that going to? How do I play in that as a wife or as a husband? Like, these things, the vision should be very clear, so that everyone can stay on track. And I think that's where a problem is when Most of us are more concerned about the romance. We know that demonstration comes from Rome, and there's nothing that they put together lasts at all. But the romance or the relationship is the most important part, and that's counterproductive, because prior to even being in a relationship, Allah, gave you life in order to complete a mission. He gave you talents, he gave you a passion that drives you to express a certain gift to the world. And when we, as a people, forget those gifts and get caught up in the relationship, we doing a disservice to Allah. I kind of look, as an example of, okay, you're going down a straight line, and then one comes at a certain angle, and then you get caught up. Instead of going in a straight line, you get caught up in the vortex, spinning around with this one. You didn't forgot the path you was on. So the path, the one you need to be in tune with, is the one that's going the same direction you're going, not one that's intersecting. That more accidents happen at an intersection than they do anywhere else on the road. It's only where the cross comes. It's only where other lines intersect other lines where you have the collisions. But for the most part, when one is going down a straight line, it's not a problem unless something just happens to the vehicle. So, in a matrimonial standpoint, that's, to me, is the same thing. We ain't going down the same path, but we're not headed for the same destination. Because sooner or later, you're going to veer off to another direction. And that is where we have an issue as a people, is that we're not looking at where our life is headed. We're looking at the right now, the instant gratification, the microwave thought pattern that, I'm living check to check, or I operate day to day instead of generationally, like you ain't coming back. Everyone is coming. It's what chapter 1 tells us, that man must go through many ways, all the ways of life, until his lessons are all learned, or her lessons are all learned. And so we have to consider that as Moorish Americans, that it's not about exactly what happens right here in a certain relationship. It's how we learn to govern ourselves in the relationship, how we learn to overcome the obstacles that keep us from being righteous, to keep us from demonstrating Islamism, which is peaceful everything. And so, we advise, or we suggest, to our Moorish kin, that you always look to make yourself the husband first, the wife first, and then the one that's evenly yoked will show up. This is not something that you should have to force. Like, you don't force your relationship with your friends. It is what it is. It's evenly yoked. It's only that we find in this society, we find ourselves forcing ourselves in relationships where they matter the most. When it deals with children, deals with legacy and finance. But when it's your friends, it's real simple. Either we vibe or we don't vibe. Either we go in the same direction or we don't. And it should be just that simple too with your mate. Either we on the same page or we're not. It's not something that I should have to necessarily work to convince you that I'm the one. You should be able to see in my works, acts, and deeds. You should see by in the fact that we doing the same things and demonstrating the same actions and thoughts. And so if you're looking for the righteous in a person, if you're looking for the righteous in a mate, then everything else can be adjusted. Everything else can be solved in communication, as Captain General Iowa says, because communication is key. Communication and trust and honesty are the basis for any long-lasting relationship. Without the trust, without the communication, as far as understanding that men and women don't speak on the same thought pattern, men speak logically and women speak more from an emotional standpoint. I mean, they're emotional, but they demonstrate off how they feel. While a man's going to demonstrate off of how he knows. But those are not opposing forces. Those are forces that are supposed to come together and create the whole. supposed to be able to help one guide themselves accordingly. You know, it's like the old saying, when the heart and the mind is together, there can't nothing stop you. And that's what we demonstrate. The man demonstrates the mind, and the sister demonstrates, or the woman demonstrates the heart. And when those two are together, there's nothing that can stop us. There's nothing that can stop your union. There's nothing that can stop your progress. The only time is when we lose that connection, and that is always based upon having a open dialogue, open communication. This is why, to me, the polygamy is so powerful, because you got to be honest from the very get-go. You got to be honest about your intentions. You got to be honest about your shortcomings as far as jealousy, envy, these things. And you have to be honest about, okay, I'm here to work on these things. I'm here to improve myself, not just to sit around and be the same old me. You know, if you're the same person you were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, then you waste time, because everyone should be growing, a constant growth. And so if you're not growing, you know, you need to look at why you stagnant, where you not being fed, where you're not being watered, where you're not getting the true light that allows those things, everything to grow. So it's just been a grand class. I want to keep going. Gratitude for bringing this measure to the forefront, Master Sister Grand Sheik. It's been a powerful class, and gratitude to you, North America, for being here with us, for giving us the time, attention, and respect. We love you. Islam and peace.
Islam and peace. Brother Mufti, for that drawing. It don't get no plainer than that. You know, we give honors to you for that drawing. Yeah, you know, the main thing has to do with definitely studying the self, like you said, and let nature take its course. That's what I always say. Because sometimes when one go out there looking for something, you know, they end up getting what they ain't asked for. And I always in a particular measure dealing with, you know, prayer to the great God in every situation, you know, because the great God, Allah, gonna give you what's meant for you. And in a lot of cases, it's got to be some improvements that are there. And even in the end, still the blessing is perfect for those who have wisdom to be able to embrace what's before them. You know, a lot of time people pray for that one to come in their midst. And yeah, that one may come with we'll say baggage, just like our people coming to be brought into this knowledge of self. And so we have to be adept enough, like you said, to be able to deal with that, because you guaranteed to have some issues along the way in any particular union, you know. But the measure is not falling, but, you know, getting back up. When you fall and you stay there, you fail. You know, and ain't nobody in this world gonna tell you that they all Uncle Dora with whatever they dealing with. But when you see that it's, like you say, a waste of time, you know, yeah, you got to keep it moving. You know, you ain't gonna keep bumping your head against the wall, you know, thinking maybe perhaps, no, that one ain't on point. And I'm gonna tell you, I love unity and everything, but when I see that, you know, there's just staunch opposition and rebellion, brother. You know, I had a situation prior to me, I say years ago, and it was a sister, we was in union real close. And she had a thing where she liked to have people tell her stuff, and she listened to everything they say. And man, I was like, man, look, man, I tell you what, since you listening to her, you go with her. You know, how about that? You know, highway out of byway. You know, and so what ended up happening is unbeknownst to me, I didn't know she had come over there. My mama told me, because she was in the house, and I heard my mama like, now you ain't finna do nothing to my son. But I thought my mama was just talking, coming today. My mama like the girl had a gun. You know, and I'm just giving the examples. You know, some people get crazy like that. But you live and you learn, and you got to be able to cut the ties if necessary, to cut the ties. You know, it don't mean you hate one or you're in opposition to one. You know, that just may not be the vibration, and you got to keep it moving. You know, like that siren song that it talk about being sung. So Yeah, we just have to move forward with divinity on the manifest, and all is well. I'm gonna tell you something too, though. When you do have that union, and no matter what one want to demonstrate, how they try to sever that tie. It's like the sheik say about the one that like to go out there and be hard headed after you done told them, and next thing they want to go off the manifest but can't leave. That's how that tie of the great God is. He ain't gonna allow certain things to, it's gonna always be worse. You're gonna end up having to go right back to the same point that you started for, but you shouldn't have to do that, because we don't fall by climbing, we ascend. So yeah, we see it over and over again. We seen it through the communities. We seen it as we was coming up. We seen it in our households when we were young seeds, and the push and the pull and all that. But we here to bring forth a perfect union. So we give honors to your Mufti for that special drawing. Just letting our people know we done been there. We seen it, and it's time to unfold. The only way we can build this nation is that we build the family. So, all right, is our national grand sheik on the manifest, because we know Act 1 is on a mission. We give honors to Act 1, the tribe of endurance, the whole Royal Council. Islam, are you there, national grand sheik?
Talk to the talk.
Uh-oh. What's love got to do with it?
Now, that's what Tina said.
Islam.
That's what Tina said. Praise Allah for the sister's wise words. We give a lot of praise for every rise. Highest honors to his love talk. Everything he brought, everyone he taught. Our brother, man, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who come 5 times more powerful just to set us all free. Honor to that brother. Honor to our officials and staff, as well as our Grand Mufti, Sister Grand Mufti, Grand Mufti Corps, the back ministers, student ministers alike, Royal Council, citizens, sympathizers and supporters, our flags, seals, the emblem, Constitution, which we stand, Book of Ali. It's everything it takes for us to be free. And in this context, we talked about marriage bond and ceremony. You can't go too much further along the route of that road that has been planted by various ones that have experienced that duality. But it seems to me that marriage comes from one being in tune with his Father God Allah, first and foremost, and looking for that expected someone or something from someone that is in tune with his one's being. We know we come here and we here down here on earth, and the various stages we done grown, and we run into a lot of people, women, men, each other, etc. And we've had an opportunity to engage such that we have what we call experience, an experience that we think is suitable to ourselves. But what we think is suitable to ourselves may not be suitable to our companion, or one that we select or elect to be our companion. When we go through that the sanctimonious level of the I do's and the other things, and we are on this road together. We're going to heaven together, and this, that, and other. But to find that you get tired of the same old, what you call the same old. What is this? What is that? but you're not looking at each other where you come from. And if we could look at ourselves as being children of one Father, provided for by His care, I think that we'd have a better union here while we're down here on earth, because we're both here, Him and her, for a reason, for a purpose. You know, to make one happy, not surely to make one sad. No, you know, we're looking for the companionship in life that gives us that love where we can care without falsely accusing each other or hurting each other, by the way. So this has been a grand discussion this evening, and I don't think that no other section of society can give an analysis that has been given to date, as the Moors set out that curriculum and how one should carry themselves. So the prophet is always on the manifest, along with those angels, saints, as our sister Grand Chief would call it, ancient forefathers and mothers, you know, who gave out that solemn care picture that we love and not demand love in return. Because if we love, then it's going to be love on the other hand. We receive it and we believe it and we achieve it, because that is ours to be one friends with. And so praise Allah for this very sanctimonious, now the word of love and kinship, being able to hold each other in the level of love divine, and not that earthly love that cares one in a level where he gets in trouble or she gets in trouble because they haven't exposed to themselves all the things that they should in order to make their marriage or their companionship more suitable. Praise Allah for you. Keep working. Keep on keeping on. As Gladys would say, you really got to move to make a certain examination. And that's examine one's heart to make sure that it's pure, and examine one's care to make sure that it's carried by the love of Allah and our ancient forefathers by His prophet. Islam. January 15, 1929, a warning from the prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens they must end all radical agitating speeches while they work in their homes or on the streets. We offer peace and not destruction. Stop blasting your cars and Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your cars for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We offer love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice then will take its course. Any citizen, a group of citizens, who hold malicious feelings towards the government or the prophet who violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. They lose confidence in their prophet. They should turn in their card and budget, cease wearing the turban of affairs, return to the state where the prophet found you. This is a holy divine movement founded by the prophet number 2IP. And if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet, therefore, is turning out divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting the prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sick ways by order of the prophet number 2 Ali. This divine warning is the supreme laws, and will be enforced by the said government hereby. Islam, Islam, Islam. A holy covenant of the Asiatic nation You're the children of one Father, divided by His care, and the breast of one mother has given you, son. That the bond of affection therefore unite you with our brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in our Father's house. And when you separate in the world, remember the relation that binds you in love and unity, that we're not estranged from our own blood. Our brother's anniversary is this 10. If our sisters in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of our Father contribute to the support of His whole race, and His care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Islam, Islam, Islam. This meeting is officially closed according to Act 2 of our divine constitution, and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Go in peace, Moors. Long live Moorish America. Peace. Peace. We.
That was Grand Class, Dr. Shaheed, this Sister Grand Sheik, Grand Class, once again. We love you, Morris. Grand Class, Dr. Shaheed. Grand Class.
Grand Class.
Long live Moorish America.
Pay your dues, Lord. Peace and love.
Peace and love, family.
Family, Morris Ken, we love you.
Islam, we love you as well, Morris Ken. Praise be to Allah and honors to His holy prophet. Islam,
Grand Class. Grand Sheik.
Islam, Islamism. We love you, Morris.
This session is no
See y'all
longer
in
being
Sunday
recorded.
school tomorrow.
One love.
One love.
Sure.
Peace and love. Peace and love.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Want to give honors to all our family that checked in as well out there in the YouTube platform. Brother Noble Bryant, we give honors to you. Sister Dosanea, Brother Denata Bosco, Marvin Nathaniel Evans Bay, Yakub El Hamid Gamba Bay. We give honors to all of you, family. Peace and love. Gratitude. All right. Yep. And so we bring this particular broadcast to a close, but we will be going into some of our other measures. We've been doing a little working, so we wasn't able to make our late night library, but we will be giving our Morris Ken drawings on that. And so that being said, at this time, what we're going to do is going to leave our Morris Ken with a grand Morris tune, so to speak. We always like to give our family grand draws on that measure there. Since we talking about the matrimonial Hajj, yeah, no problem with that. Let's see here. Islam, Moors. We got a lot. The best is yet to come. So, gratitude.
Who is she that winneth the heart of man, that subdueth him to love and ringeth in his breast? Lo yonder she walketh in maiden sweetness, with innocence in her mind and modesty on her cheek. Her hand seeketh employment, her foot delighteth not in gadding abroad. She is clothed with neatness, she is fed with temperance. Humility and meekness are as a crown of glory circling her head. On her tongue dwelleth music, the sweetness of honey floweth from her lips. Decency is in all her words, and her answers are mildness and truth. Submission and obedience are the lessons of her life, and peace and happiness are her reward.
Got a goddess, she's a keeper. She was born to be a diva, exalted like Queen Sheba, immortal like Nefertiti. Got a goddess, she's a keeper. She was born to be a diva, exalted like Queen Sheba, immortal like Nefertiti. Got a goddess, she's a keeper. She was born to be a diva, exalted like Queen Sheba, immortal like Nefertiti. Got a goddess, she's a keeper. She was born to be a diva, exalted like Queen Sheba, immortal like Nefertiti. She's the best among 10,000 lovely, unlike none other. She was there when I struggled, on the strength of my mother, my twin flame for life, reflection of my life. Embrace my love and my plight, that's when we took flight. Then I wrapped her mind in divine wisdom, speaking holy tongues, my Kama Sutra ignited vision. In the heat of passion, I charmed a kundalini and thought I dreamed of genie. Sensual pleasures, enigma shrouded in mystic meaning, like hieroglyphics in the pyramids of ancient Kmt. Egyptian love is immortal, even the gods envy. But it's the God in me, and it's the goddess in my sheepness. So pay some homage to my priestess. Men and nights in meditation, we reached the blue ethers. Went beyond the circle of the sun and met with master teachers. Received lessons and countless blessings from the ancestors. And they said this union we have is meant to last forever. Got a goddess, she's a keeper. She was born to be a diva, exalted like Queen Sheba, immortal like Nefertiti. Got a goddess, she's a keeper. She was born to be a diva, exalted like Queen Sheba, immortal like Nefertiti. Got a goddess, she's a keeper. She was born to be a diva, exalted like Queen Sheba, immortal like Nefertiti. Got a goddess, she's a keeper. She was born to be a diva, exalted like Queen Sheba, immortal like Nefertiti. And I never seen a nation rise above its queen mother. In a matrimonial heart, see, I became a brother. Sat in consultation for years, minus the marriage rights. But it's Allah who graced our souls with the breath of life. Mystic ties are despised by devils in the skies. I can hear serpents in the garden, hissing the whisper lies. But we ain't Adam and Eve, we more like Ish and Ish. We took unbreakable vows, so we heavenly official. And if you blasphemy, this bum rap, it's divine issue. Justice must take its course if you hinder this mission. And what Allah has joined, no demon or jinn can ever separate. We were decreed by his created fate. And there's no power that supersedes universal law. In the event of our demise, wrap us in linen cloth. Place our bodies in the Nile and watch us sell off. On the journey to the afterlife of love is never lost. Got a goddess, she's a keeper. She was born to be a diva, exalted like Queen Sheba, immortal like Nefertiti. Got a goddess, she's a keeper. She was born to be a diva, exalted like Queen Sheba, immortal like Nefertiti. Got a goddess, she's a keeper. She was born to be a diva, exalted like Queen Sheba, immortal like Nefertiti. Got a goddess, she's a keeper. She was born to be a diva, exalted like Queen Sheba, immortal like Nefertiti.
Peace and love, family. We love you. Islam. Ankwa Jessanel. Shimo Tepu.